At just 14 years old, Seelie was in the throes of childbirth, her young body trembling with pain as her father stood nearby, not with concern, but with impatience, urging her to hurry up, asking coldly if she was finished yet. With the piercing cry of a newborn, Seelie gave birth to her second child. Yet before she could even take a proper look at her baby's face, her father reached out and snatched the infant from her arms. He issued the same warning as before. She was never to tell anyone that the child was his. Her mother, though consumed by fury and sorrow, could do nothing. She remained silent, unable to stop the horror unfolding in her own home. Over time, the weight of her helplessness crushed her spirit, and she eventually died in despair. But the nightmare didn't end there. Soon after the mother's death, the monstrous father shifted his focus to Seelie's younger sister. Later, the man remarried a young woman, and for a moment, the sisters allowed themselves to hope that life might improve. But even during the wedding, it became clear that hope was a fragile thing. Albert, the groom, caught sight of the beautiful younger sister and was smitten at once. After the ceremony, he proposed to take her as his bride, but the father refused. Instead, he offered Seelie, insisting she was trained, she could cook, clean, raise children, and most importantly, she was obedient. Albert agreed. Like a livestock trade, Seelie was spun around, inspected, and taken. The naive girl became a wife not out of love, but out of convenience. Her new life was no less cruel. Before she even entered her husband's home, Albert's son hurled a rock at her, striking her head and leaving a bloody mark, a red stain on the stone at the doorstep, and a silent warning that she was not welcome. That night, Albert unleashed his rage on her. Seelie bore the pain in silence, her only thoughts resting on the safety of her sister. In the room, she noticed a photograph of a beautiful woman by the bedside and tried to distract herself from the agony by wondering who the woman was. The next morning, Seelie walked into the kitchen and was met with chaos. Dishes stacked high with filth, cobweb-covered utensils, leftover food rotting on the floor, rats darting in and out of shadows. But she wasn't afraid. She simply wrung out a cloth and began to clean. As the grime gave way, she uncovered a small, dusty flower, and by the end of her work, the kitchen gleamed. Yet instead of praise, Albert destroyed everything she had done. When she dared to speak, he struck her. In that moment, Seelie realized she wasn't a wife. She was a servant, a commodity Albert had purchased. From then on, she buried her voice and planted the seed of submission deep in her heart. Though her body remained in Albert's house, her mind never strayed far from the two children she had been forced to give up. One day in town, she encountered the pastor's wife holding a child, and in a single glance, Seelie recognized the baby as her own. Trying to remain composed, she started a conversation and managed to cradle the child. She learned then that both of her babies had been sold to the pastor's family by her father. As the woman walked away with her child, Seelie stood frozen, helpless, once again forced to let go. The suffering didn't end there. Eventually, her father's abuse reached her younger sister. Unable to endure it, the girl fled to Seelie's home, desperate for safety. When Seelie saw her again, despite the misery in her own life, she smiled genuinely for the first time in years. She pleaded with Albert to let her sister stay. Enchanted by the girl's beauty, he agreed. Though the danger hadn't truly passed, the sisters clung to each other. Being together at least was a kind of peace. They began to plan, to dream of freedom. The sister enrolled in school and each night taught Seelie how to read. She labeled objects around the house with handwritten notes, slowly helping Seelie piece together the meaning of words. One day, Seelie stumbled upon the word system and asked what it meant. Her sister explained that a system was a way things were done, but some systems, she said with defiance, were made to be broken. She urged Seelie to fight, but Seelie, worn down and weary, admitted that she no longer wanted to fight. She only wanted to survive. Still, the two remained bonded by love and hope. But Albert's gaze never left the younger sister. One day, he tried to assault her. She managed to escape, but the danger forced her to leave. The sisters parted with tears and a vow. Only death could separate them. From that day forward, Seelie waited for a letter. Every time she asked Albert about mail, he screamed at her to stay away from the mailbox. As years passed, Seelie aged into a woman, now fluent in reading, but the mailbox remained empty. Fear grew in her heart. Maybe her sister was gone forever. Then came a woman who would change everything. Albert's son Harpo brought home a spirited pregnant woman named Sophia. She refused to cower, even in Albert's presence. Watching Sophia, so bold and confident, Seelie was awed. Sophia's strength only grew stronger in contrast to Seelie's silence. Harpo, caught between two powerful figures, his father and Sophia, tried to assert himself. At one point he turned to Seelie for advice, and to his surprise, she told him to hit Sophia. The moment passed, but Sophia later confronted Seelie in anger. "I've spent my life fighting to escape men's control," she said, "and now you're telling him to hit me?" Despite the violence, Harpo and Sophia had many children, but the tension became unbearable. One day, Sophia left with the children. Seelie watched them go, a quiet goodbye between women who had both suffered. Then came a stormy night, and with it, Shug, the woman from the photograph. Seelie, nervous and flustered, tried to make a good impression, but couldn't hide her discomfort. To her shock, Shug openly berated Albert, calling him a coward. Albert, uncharacteristically vulnerable, fumbled in the kitchen just to please her. Seelie, quietly observing, began to feel something unfamiliar, curiosity, even affection. She cooked for Shug, and when her dish was eaten, she beamed with silent joy. As they grew closer, Seelie learned that Shug was a singer rejected by her own father. One night, as Seelie gently brushed Shug's hair, they sang together, and an unspoken love began to bloom. Shug became more than a guest. She became a source of warmth. But then Shug announced she was leaving. Devastated, Seelie admitted she had fallen in love. When asked why she stayed with Albert, Seelie replied painfully, "Because I'm not you." Shug kissed her tenderly, offering the kind of love Seelie had never known. For the first time, Seelie saw herself not as a shadow, but as someone worthy. She wanted to leave with Shug, to escape the prison of her life. But when Albert saw her with a suitcase, his glare shattered her courage. She let the door close. The chance was lost. Shug's departure left her broken, her newfound strength stripped away. Then one day, news arrived that Sophia had been arrested. A confrontation with the mayor had turned violent. Sophia had defended herself and was thrown into prison. 8 years later, she emerged a ghost of her former self, graying and subdued, now working as the mayor's maid. Even so, when she crossed paths with Seelie during Christmas shopping, they shared a silent moment of reconciliation. Sophia mouthed a thank you. Seelie replied, "If it weren't for you, I'd probably be dead." Years rolled by, and then one spring morning, Seelie heard a familiar voice. It was Shug, returned at last, with a husband in tow. While Albert chatted with her new partner, Shug handed Seelie a letter. At last, her sister had written. In the attic, the two women read together. Seelie's sister had been alive all along, raising her children in Africa under the care of the pastor's family. All the letters had been intercepted by Albert. Furious, Seelie retrieved the hidden bundle beneath the floorboards. Each one was a message of love, a lifeline. Overcome with grief and rage, Seelie finally snapped. When Albert struck her for ignoring him, she raised a razor to his throat, but Shug stopped her just in time. Albert, startled, saw a fire in Seelie's eyes that had never been there before. A family dinner followed, where Shug announced she was leaving again, and this time Seelie was going with her. Albert tried to protest, but Seelie stood tall and told him everything she had never dared to say. That he was vile, that her sister and children were better than anything he had ever given her, that he was a pile of dog crap. The table fell into stunned silence, but Seelie had found her voice. After a lifetime of silence, she was finally free. And that's a wrap! Thanks for hanging out with me today. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss a video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.